Last week, my husband has been invited to be interviewed at an Amazon for some engineering position, and he has been sent tons of materials to be acquainted with before he went through that interview, which, by the way, had nothing in common with what he had to answer during that interview, but that's unrelated. And among those materials, because I've seen them as well, among those materials, he has been advised to get acquainted with leadership principles in Amazon. And when I read them and when I compared them to what I actually know about Amazon and Amazon employees, I was pretty much amused, and I want to share these leadership principles of Amazon with you. And the question I want to ask you, and you will be having all the time during the video to think about it, what does leadership actually means for you? Because if we refer to Google, Google gives a pretty much simple definition, and that is leadership is the action of leading a group of people or an organization. Simple as that. But leading a group of people or an organization could be performed in so many ways. Let's check out what leadership actually means according to Amazon. And the first principle that Amazon says that this is their leadership principle is customer obsession, meaning that everything should be focused around customer. And I'll quote here. So leaders start with the customer and work backwards. They work vigorously to earn and keep customer trust. Although leaders pay attention to competitors, they obsess over customers. Have you heard anything said about team members? Neither have I. So you understood the main principle. Serve for customer and screw all the other things. So customer is your God. So serve the customer and do whatever is needed to satisfy the customer. So that's the first leadership principle in Amazon. The second one is ownership. Leaders are owners. They think long-term and don't sacrifice long-term value for short-term results. They act on the behalf of the entire company beyond just their own team. They never say, "That's not my job." While I agree to some extent to this principle, what it really says is, "It's not my job." They never say, "It's not my job." What do they imply by saying this? It means that they say that you will have a lot of overtime, and this actually what they say in their not job offer but interview offering. They say that one of the principles is that employees should not mind to working overshift, to overworking their own hours. That's one of the things that Amazon is famous for, but we will come back to that a little bit later. And another thing that I noticed, yes, leaders are owners, because if you're an owner of the company, then you're responsible for everything. You take interest in everything, and you cannot say that I'm not interested in this, I don't want to do this. You want to do this because you want to save your own company. But if in a large corporation you take a step out of the zone of your direct responsibilities, you will be frowned upon, to say the least, and well, most probably you will be reported, because you can only respond for your own steps and for your own results, and those are short-term goals. Unfortunately, you don't see the entire picture. You're not responsible, you're not allowed to be responsible for the entire picture. So that, whilst I agree that this is true, this cannot be performed in a large company. So the next principle is invent and simplify. And again, I'll quote, leaders expect and require innovation and invention from their teams and always find ways to simplify. They are externally aware, look for new ideas from everywhere, and are not limited by "not invented here." As we do new things, we accept that we may be misunderstood for long periods of time. Looking for new ideas might be a good idea, but implementing those new ideas will be a headache in a big corporation. So again, it's a nice principle, but I don't know whether it is fulfilled. So the next principle is leaders are right a lot. Leaders are right a lot. They have strong judgment and good instincts. They seek diverse perspectives and work to disconfirm their beliefs. I agree here, because everybody makes mistakes, and they don't say here that you're not allowed to make a mistake, though, you know, some pressure is being put here. But yes, if you make wrong decisions a lot, that is a bad sign, and it actually means that you're not a very good leader, because you don't see clearly the way, and the blind leading the blind. Okay, so the next principle is learn and be curious. Leaders are never done learning and always seek to improve themselves. They are curious about new possibilities and act to explore them. I would say that's a truth, but then if you have heard the interview from Elon Musk, and Elon Musk said, well guys, I never read any books on time management. And yet, that guy obviously manages his time well, because the results speak for themselves. So I do agree that leaders need to learn, but do not let your learning stand in the way of your productivity and actual work. So the next principle is hire and develop the best. Leaders raise the performance bar with every hire and promotion. They recognize exceptional talent and willingly move them throughout the organization. Leaders develop leaders and take seriously their role in coaching others. We work on behalf of our people to invent mechanisms for development like career choice. Now, this one is a very delicate issue, is a very delicate matter in Amazon, because you know what? Amazon has the highest turnover rate among employees in IT industry. IT industry overall has a high turnover rate due to numerous reasons. First, it's a high stress environment. Second, IT specialists can choose to work for whoever they want, whoever they like, because they have more choices and more opportunities. That's what I love about this industry. When we speak of Amazon, it's almost a set phrase. It's almost, an anecdote, some sort of an anecdote, because everybody knows that working in Amazon is hell. And to be completely honest, I will refer to some of the quotes, because I already have some personal acquaintances of mine who had very negative experience working in Amazon, but I cannot attract them right now to our episode. What I would do instead is to share my screen with you. That's what I'll do. Just a second. I just typed in Amazon employees turnover rate, and as you can see, 50% of employees leave Amazon within the first year. That's the first line that Google says us. And I'm sure that turnover rate in Amazon is even higher. And that's it. So Amazon has a relatively high turnover rate for employees. Relatively high. The highest, guys, the highest. For a company that's as big as Amazon, this costs a lot of money. It's in their best interest to fix the problem, but yet they don't. And now let's find out why. So here is, I come to Quora, and Quora is one of the best places. I love Quora, one of the best places where you can find the answer to your question. So why is attribution rate so high at Amazon? Is it true that many people have seen employees crying at their desks while working at Amazon? Guys, it's true, because you can see a lot of people here speaking based on their own experience. So let's roll to the basics. So the team I started on was so overtaxed. Everyone besides me was gone, either to another team or to another company within 3 months of when I joined the team. The workplace environment sucked. Imagine a football field full of door desks side by side. Ergonomics, what the f is that? We were scammed so tight that in a 36th floor building, I sometimes had to try 3 floors before I could find an open bathroom stall. I mean, guys, for me, that would be a red flag, because sorry for you to witness, but I cherish convenient restrooms, and for me, that's a must-have. And he says, I had never seen anyone crying at the desk. I did, however, see a lot of people just leave. The next speaker, it was terrible. I did learn a lot about how not to do business, how not to treat people, and how to make a lot of money unethically. Yes, I have seen people crying at their desk. However, what I hate the most about Amazon is the racism there. You probably won't notice the racism if you're in a coding job, but things get bad at level 6 and higher roles. By the way, that's what I heard in terms of female positions, that women are okay to work at lower positions, at mid positions, but when it comes to higher level positions, that's where it's very racism and gender-based opinions are being taken. The next speaker says that I worked at Amazon for exactly 1 year. I was on the senior team and helped launch a quick deploy fulfillment center in Southern California. Okay, so one of the things he says, you are thrown under the bus constantly and you work very long hours. That's what I heard, very long hours. I would normally go in at 7 a.m. and leave at 9 p.m. and then do it all over again. I mean, it's crazy, that's slavery. Okay, and so a lot of people, not one positive feedback, so that's something to think about. HR director in the company I worked previously, in a corporate company, she went to an excursion they have at Amazon in Silicon Valley. I believe it was the head office of Amazon, and she went there on an excursion and she met with HR managers at Amazon and she asked them this question. So is this true that Amazon turnover rates are so high, and why? Why is it so if it's true? And yes, she was provided with a positive answer. Yes, this is true. And you could see the reason, the excessive stress. They even have t-shirts for the employees with that say every day is the first day. Like, you know what that means? It means that no matter how long you have worked in that company, nobody works there for too long. No matter how long you work in that company, every day is like your first day. You have to prove yourself over and over again each day, and that's very exhausting. So no matter if you worked 1 day or 10 years, you are treated like you're not treated well, because you always have to prove and you have to work long hours. And the HR director, my HR director, she asked that Amazon HR manager, and what is the main reason why people are leaving Amazon jobs? Like, is it stress? Is it long hours? Is it not the best pay in the industry? By the way, Amazon does not have the best salaries in the industry. And she was provided with a very interesting answer. Yes, all of those reasons are relatable and they contribute to employees leaving Amazon, but the main reason of people leaving Amazon was of them wanting to have families. Like, think about that. People want to have families. That's insane. They want to have life. How dare those slaves to want to have lives? I mean, slavery never stops, and yes, whilst in most companies it's expected from you that you give yourself 100% to that company, I mean, this case is appalling, because if you want to start a family, you have to leave the company, and that's appalling and that's very harsh, and especially it's very hard on women, because women are the most vulnerable employment force. Because if a man wants to start a family, okay, but if a woman wants to start a family, it means that she will have to give birth to children, and when you are pregnant and when you're giving birth and when you're breastfeeding, you're so vulnerable at this period of your life. I cannot even tell you, I can't even say you how vulnerable you are. And instead of supporting women, because women are as good professionals as men, I'm sorry to have to say this, but I've met with the attitude that, you know, females are still being lower paid than men, and that's such an appalling situation. And instead of supporting women, because there are amazing women in tech, and that will be our next topic here, and still, if they want to have a life, if they want to have children, if they want to have families, they have to leave the company. I mean, like, wow. Okay, so the next leadership principle that they have is insist on the highest standards, and that's where we continue our topic, insist on the highest standards, which means a lot of pressure on employees. But what they say is leaders have relentlessly high standards. Many people think these standards are unreasonably high. Leaders, maybe not without reason they think though, leaders are continually raising the bar and drive their teams to deliver high quality products, services and processes. Leaders ensure that defects do not get sent down the line and that problems are fixed and stay fixed. Again, what that means is high pressure on leaders high pressure on employees. The next principle they have: think big. Thinking small is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Leaders create and communicate a bold direction that inspires results. They think differently and look around corners for ways to serve customers. If you think big, what that actually means: think big, which means do not pay attention to something as small as your people or as small as any other problems that could be overcome. So the next principle is bias for action. Speed matters in business. Yes, I agree with that. Many decisions and actions are reversible and do not need extensive study. We value calculated risk taking, and you will be punished if that risk does not fulfill the goal. So I do agree that action matters and speed matters in business. Whilst I do agree, I know that they speak about calculated risk, and risk, whilst it could be calculated, but it's still risk and you will be punished if things go wrong. So the next principle is frugality. Accomplish more with less. More with less, more action, less salary. Okay, so constraints breed resourcefulness, self-sufficiency, and invention. There are no extra points for growing headcount, budget size, or fixed expense. Do I have to explain anything here? There are no extra points for growing headcount, budget size, or fixed expense. The goal has to be fulfilled, the project has to be done, and if you don't have resources, nobody cares. So the next principle is earn trust. Leaders listen attentively, speak candidly, and treat others respectfully. I agree with that. They are vocally self-critical, even when doing so is awkward or embarrassing. Leaders do not believe their team's body odor smells of perfume. They benchmark themselves and their teams against the best. Yes, earn trust is very important. I hope, I do believe that managers in Amazon do a great job in terms of earning trust, because otherwise, with such a condition, there is no way people would stay in the company. So those managers in Amazon who manage to maintain their people, they are heroes in my eyes. Okay, the next principle is dive deep. Leaders operate at all levels, stay connected to the details, and frequently are skeptical about when metrics and anecdote differ. No task is beneath them. I agree with that. Leaders need to make their hands dirty. They should not be afraid of any dirty work, and if coding is needed, then it is needed. Again, I agree with all that, but in a big corporation, what they mean is you will have to code as well as your coders and not get paid an extra money for that. The next is have backbone, disagree and commit. Leaders are obligated to respectfully challenge decisions when they disagree, even when doing so is uncomfortable or exhausting. Leaders have conviction and are tenacious. They do not compromise for the sake of social cohesion. Once a decision is determined, they commit wholly. I'm sure that managers at Amazon do a great job of doing so, because working in such a stressful environment requires a lot of soft skills, and I'm sure managers at Amazon possess that, because the company still operates, right? And operates greatly. So the next and the last principle is deliver results. Leaders focus on the key inputs for their business and deliver them with the right quality and in a timely fashion. Despite setbacks, they rise to the occasion and never settle. But that, I believe, relates again to the first principle, that is customer obsession, and customer obsession, you may equal it to a goal obsession, result obsession. Delivering results is not the only function of a leader, because you can only deliver results if your team is loyal to you, if your team trusts you, if your team is happy, because under the stress, nobody can perform good results for too long. And that's the reason, I believe, for a high employee turnover rates at Amazon. Now, what do you think of these leadership skills? If you have any experience in Amazon, in working in Amazon, please let me know in the comments. I would appreciate any feedback, because I'm pretty curious about this company, because everything I hear about this company from its employees always negative. Maybe someone has a positive feedback. Please let me know in the comments. And also, I'm coming back to the question I asked in the beginning of the video, and that is, what does leadership mean for you? I would appreciate your opinion. What does leadership mean for you? Because for each person it's different. Hope you like this episode. Make sure to subscribe and click the notification bell. Give me a thumbs up if you like the episode. And yes, say hi in the comments. I would love to talk to you. See you next Wednesday. Go and show them all and talk to you next week. Bye.